All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're getting into some sneaky stuff.
Sneaky is, right?
We're talking about social engineering
Yeah.
and how these kind of bad actors use these tactics to trick people into giving up information.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that a lot of people think, oh, this won't happen to me. I'm savvy.
Right.
But this deep dive is really aimed at people who don't necessarily think about IT security all the time.
Right.
Because social engineering,
It can happen
it can happen to anybody.
to anyone. Yeah, absolutely. And we got two sources that we're going to be looking at today, and they both really emphasize this point.
Okay.
One is the BSI standard 100-4. So that's a German guide to emergency management.
Interesting.
And it's got some surprisingly sharp insights into social engineering defense.
Okay. So even though it's about emergency management,
Yeah.
it still kind of folds in.
It does. It kind of folds in that human element,
Okay.
which is what social engineering is all about.
Interesting. Okay.
And the other one is the ICS Security Compendium.
Okay.
And that's a guide to IT security for industrial control systems.
Well, that sounds
I know it sounds very technical, but stay with me because it's relevant to everyone.
Okay.
Because what it illustrates is how these seemingly harmless actions can have huge security consequences.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's start off by defining what social engineering actually is.
Okay.
So it's not about breaking into systems, with lines of code and all that.
Right.
It's about breaking in by exploiting human psychology.
Oh, so they're hacking people,
Exactly.
not computers.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, they're hacking people.
Interesting.
So social engineers are masters of manipulation.
Okay.
They exploit our natural tendency to trust, to be helpful, and even our fear.
Yeah.
Sometimes to trick us into giving up confidential information.
Okay.
Or granting access,
Yeah.
that we shouldn't be granting.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I always like to kind of have a real world example,
Of course.
just to really get a picture of what this looks like.
Okay, well, let's look at the BSI standard.
Okay.
It describes this scenario where an attacker stages a fake office break-in.
What?
So they cause all this commotion.
Oh, wow.
And get everyone distracted, and then they slip into a restricted area and get access to a server.
So they're creating this whole theatrical...
A whole theatrical production.
So steal data.
It's just to steal data.
Oh my gosh,
It's pretty devious.
it's devious, but also kind of brilliant.
It is. It really is. And that's the thing about social engineering. It
Yeah.
works because it preys on, how we react in situations,
Yeah.
in the midst of chaos.
Right when we're not thinking.
You're less likely to question,
Right. Yeah.
know what's going on.
Okay, so we see how it works.
Mm-hmm.
But why is it so effective?
Yeah.
Why do we fall for this?
Well, think about it. Humans are social creatures.
Yeah.
We're programmed to trust. Mm-hmm.
Other people, especially if they, seem authoritative.
Right.
Or, come recommended by someone we know.
Yeah.
We also want to be helpful.
Right. Solve problems.
Solve problems.
Be a good colleague.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Social engineers take advantage of these very inherent traits that we have.
So they might pretend to be somebody they're not.
Absolutely.
Or they might create this sense of urgency.
Yes.
To pressure us into making a decision.
Pressure you into making a bad decision.
Oh, God.
And, we can't forget about fear.
Right.
Someone tells you that you're in danger.
Right.
Or that you need to act immediately.
Right.
To avoid some consequence.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes our rational thinking just goes right out the window.
Yeah, fear definitely makes you act without thinking sometimes.
Yeah.
So, knowing all of this,
Mm-hmm.
how can we as non-IT people spot these attempts?
Right.
What are the red flags?
Yeah, the red flags.
Yeah, what should we be looking for? Okay, well, there's some common signs.
Oh.
An unsolicited request for personal information,
Okay.
especially if it's coming through an unusual channel.
Okay.
So you always want to be wary if you know someone you don't know.
Right.
Or even someone you do know, but they're reaching out in a strange way,
Right.
asks for sensitive data.
Okay.
That's a huge red flag.
But so if my boss suddenly messages me on my personal social media
Yes.
and is like, hey, can I get your login?
Yeah, that's suspicious.
Okay.
You need to think twice about that for sure.
Okay.
And watch out for communications that use urgent or threatening language
Oh, yeah.
to create that sense of panic.
Like all those emails I get.
Yes.
Urgent action required.
Exactly. They want you to just react
Yeah.
and not think.
Okay.
Another red flag is a request to bypass security procedures.
Okay.
So if someone asks you to do something that goes against your company's policies, even if they seem like they're in a hurry or have a good excuse, that's a big warning sign.
No cutting corners when it comes to security.
No cutting corners.
No. Okay, are there any other red flags that we should be looking out for?
Always be cautious about clicking links or opening attachments from sources you don't recognize.
Right.
I know this one seems obvious.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how many people still fall for phishing scams.
Oh, yeah.
And be wary of offers that seem too good to be true.
Right.
Remember, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
It probably is.
Yeah.
All right, so we know how to spot the bad guys.
Right.
But what can we do to protect ourselves?
That's the big question.
What are some practical steps?
Yeah, what can we actually do?
That we can take to kind of strengthen our defenses?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, always verify requests for information.
Okay.
Especially if the request is coming through an unusual channel.
Right.
So don't be afraid to ask questions.
Okay.
Double check with the sender or contact your IT department if you have any doubts.
So if somebody claiming to be from IT emails me and asks for my password, I should call the IT help desk and be like, hey.
Exactly.
Could you just email me?
Yes, exactly. You want to be safe.
Better safe than sorry.
Yes, and speaking of being safe, never click on a link.
Right.
Or open an attachment from a source you don't recognize. I know this seems obvious.
Yeah.
But so many people still fall for these phishing scams. And if you're not sure, you can hover your mouse over the link.
Oh, yeah.
To see the full URL.
To see where it's really going.
Or contact the sender directly to confirm.
Okay.
And if you encounter something suspicious, report it immediately.
Okay.
Don't hesitate to contact your IT security team.
Right.
Your manager. The sooner they know about a potential threat, the better they can protect everyone.
Yeah, it's like see something, say something.
Exactly.
But for the cyber world.
For cybersecurity, exactly.
All right, so what else can we do?
Well, be mindful of what you share online.
Okay.
Especially on social media.
Right.
Think twice before you post personal information. That could be used to target you.
So maybe don't post about that awesome vacation I'm about to take.
Maybe wait till you get back.
Until I get back.
Yeah.
So people don't know my house is empty.
Exactly. And last but not least, stay informed.
Okay.
About the latest social engineering tactics.
Right.
The more you know about the methods that these attackers are using, the better you'll be able to recognize and avoid their traps.
That's true. So it's continuous learning.
Continuous learning.
It's not just like a one-time.
One and done.
Yeah, we got to keep learning.
You got to stay vigilant.
Yeah.
Keep updating our knowledge.
Because they're always coming up with new stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's a constant cat and mouse game.
Now, we've been talking a lot about individual actions.
Right.
But our sources also talk about a broader approach.
Absolutely. Both the BSI standard and that ICS Security Compendium emphasize the importance of policies and procedures.
Okay.
So it's not just about us being careful as individuals.
Right.
It's about having systems in place.
At an organizational level?
At an organizational level, that's right.
Okay.
So, for example, having guidelines for handling sensitive information, reporting suspicious activity, and verifying requests can significantly reduce the success of an attack.
So it's like having a playbook for how to handle security situations.
Exactly. Having that playbook.
So everybody knows what to do.
That's right. And a well-defined incident response plan can help an organization react effectively to a social engineering attack, minimizing the damage.
So if somebody does fall for one of these tricks, having this plan in place can kind of
can help contain the damage. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's about having that roadmap, you know, from the initial detection to containment, recovery, post-incident analysis.
Okay, that makes me feel a bit better.
Good.
But let's go back to the individual for a second.
Okay.
Both of our sources talk about the importance of training.
They do.
But from different angles.
Yes. The ICS Security Compendium focuses on how to use systems securely. Like the ones in industrial control systems. So they need specialized training to make sure they're aware of the security risks and how to mitigate them. But the principles apply everywhere. It's not just for those specific systems.
And the BSI standard kind of takes a broader approach?
Much broader approach.
Yeah.
They actually promote training for all employees. On emergency management procedures, which includes social engineering defense,
So it's like...
They even suggest conducting drills and exercises.
Like a fire drill.
Like a fire drill.
But for cyber attacks.
Exactly. It helps people practice their responses in a safe environment.
So they're not panicking.
So they know what to do if a real incident occurs.
I like that.
Yeah, it takes the fear and panic out of the equation and lets people think clearly. And both sources really emphasize the importance of clear communication during an emergency.
Okay.
So the BSI standard outlines principles for effective crisis communication.
Interesting. What are some of those principles?
Well, they stress the importance of providing timely and accurate information.
Okay.
Avoiding technical jargon.
Right.
Being transparent and honest.
Right.
The idea is to keep everyone informed without creating unnecessary panic.
Right. You don't want rumors and misinformation flying around.
Exactly. You want to make sure everyone's getting the correct information.
Yes.
And they emphasize the need to have designated spokespeople.
Okay.
So you have that consistent messaging.
Okay. So there's a chain of command.
A chain of command, exactly.
In terms of who's talking.
Who's talking and what information is being put out there.
Okay.
And the ICS Security Compendium emphasizes documenting and analyzing security incidents.
So not just reacting.
Not just reacting, but learning from them.
Learning from what went wrong.
What happened, why it happened, and how can we prevent it from happening again?
Right. Okay.
That's key.
So continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement, exactly.
Now, we've talked about BSI.
Yes.
We've talked about the ICS. But there's one more source we need to bring in.
There is.
Which is the IT Grundschutz Compendium.
Yes, another German one.
Another German one. What does this one focus on?
This one is a treasure trove of information on a wide range of security topics.
Okay.
Everything from physical security building safety, data protection, incident management.
Wow.
And it even has some real-world examples of social engineering.
Okay, you've got my attention now. Tell me about these examples.
Okay, one scenario they describe is an attacker gaining access to a company's server by exploiting what seems like a harmless situation.
Okay.
They stage a break-in at the company's office.
Wait, haven't we heard this before?
You have the BSI standard mentioned a similar scenario. It just goes to show how common this is.
Right.
So they use the commotion to slip in unnoticed and gain access to a server while everyone's distracted.
So it's not a one-off example. It's like...
It's a very common tactic.
Okay.
So it really reinforces that idea that, social engineering often exploits our natural responses into stressful situations.
When we're not thinking straight.
When we're distracted, when we're under pressure, and we let our guard down, and it makes us more susceptible.
This is making me think about how I react. In unexpected situations. I need to, train myself to stay calm.
To stay calm, assess the situation.
And you're like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Is this really happening?
Don't just react.
Right.
Take a moment to assess. And that example also, highlights the need for clear security procedures and training to equip employees with the knowledge they need to respond.
So training and awareness are key.
Absolutely.
But what about the information itself?
Right.
Like, how can we protect sensitive data?
Well, the IT Grundschutz Compendium goes into data protection, which is so important now. More than ever.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of guidance on how to handle sensitive information, how to implement access controls encryption, how to securely dispose of data.
This seems like something that everybody should be aware of.
It is. It's not just an IT thing.
Not just an IT thing, right?
We all have a responsibility to protect our own information and the information of others.
At work and at home.
At work and at home. That's right.
So what are some practical things that we can do to protect our data?
The IT Grundschutz Compendium has tons of advice, even how to create strong passwords.
Oh, yeah.
Which a lot of people still struggle with.
I know a lot of people who still use really weak passwords.
It's so risky.
Yeah.
Think about it if you use the same key for your car in your office.
Right.
And somebody gets that one key.
They have access to everything.
They can get into everything.
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I need to step up my password game.
Step up your password game.
But passwords are just one piece of the puzzle, right?
They are. They are.
What about that security culture?
That's a key concept that all three of these sources touch on.
Yeah.
It's about creating an environment where security is everyone's responsibility, not just the IT department's job. And the IT Grinshitz Compendium has a lot of great insights on how to build that strong security culture.
Okay, so how do we build this culture?
Well, communication.
Okay.
Training and awareness programs are key.
Okay.
To educate employees about the risks and best practices.
So it's not just a one-time-a-year mandatory training.
No, it needs to be ingrained in the culture.
It's like any other value.
To have a value of the company.
Exactly. And leadership needs to set a good example.
Right.
They need to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. Right? It has to come from the top.
It does. It does.
What else can organizations do to foster this?
Recognize and reward employees who demonstrate good security practices.
Oh, yeah.
That positive reinforcement goes a long way.
It shows that you value it.
It shows that you value security, that it's a priority. Yeah. And it creates that culture where security is seen as a shared responsibility.
Right.
A source of pride.
Not a burden.
Not a burden, exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about fostering this culture. But what happens when something does go wrong?
Right.
How do we deal with a security incident?
Well, the IT Grinshitz Compendium also provides guidance on how to handle those situations. From the initial detection and containment all the way to recovery and analysis after the incident.
Wow, so it's like a playbook.
It's like a playbook.
For responding to a crisis.
Exactly.
Having that playbook really does make you feel more prepared.
Oh, yeah. It's like, okay.
Even if something happens.
Yeah. At least we know what to do.
We know what to do. We've got the steps.
Exactly. And it helps you react swiftly and minimize that damage.
Right.
The IT Grinshitz Compendium even includes templates and checklists.
Oh, wow.
That organizations can use.
So they don't even have to start from scratch.
No, they can use those as a starting point.
That's really helpful.
It is. And they really emphasize the importance of communication and collaboration during an incident.
So you don't want people just like pointing fingers, working in silos.
Everybody needs to work together to address the issue and get things back on track.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
It really does. And just as important is learning from the incident. So analyzing what happened, why it happened, what can we do differently?
Right. So it's not just about putting out the fire.
No, it's about preventing it.
It's about preventing it from happening again.
From happening again.
That reminds me, the IT Grinshitz Compendium also covers physical security.
It does.
Which I feel like sometimes gets overlooked.
Sometimes it does in our digital world.
Yeah.
But it's still so important. And they offer advice on securing buildings and facilities, implementing access controls, surveillance systems, protecting against things like fires, natural disasters.
It's a good reminder that security isn't just about data.
No, it's about people too.
It's about people. It's about physical assets.
It's about taking that holistic approach.
Yeah.
Looking at everything.
This has been a really great deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I've learned a lot, not just about social engineering.
Right.
But kind of the bigger picture.
The whole landscape.
Yeah, of security.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got a lot out of it.
One of the biggest takeaways for me is that security is everyone's responsibility.
Absolutely.
It's not just the IT department's job.
It's a shared responsibility.
We all play a role.
We do.
In keeping ourselves and our organizations safe.
Exactly. And, by understanding these tactics, recognizing those red flags,
following simple security practices, we can all make a huge difference.
And it's not just about protecting ourselves at work.
No.
It's about protecting ourselves in every aspect of our lives.
That's right. Whether you're getting a suspicious email at work,
right,
a weird text message on your personal phone,
a
phone call, from somebody claiming to be your bank,
right,
the same principles apply.
Yeah.
Stay vigilant, stay informed, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Right.
Or report something that seems off.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah, what's the next step?
What's the next step for our listeners who are like, okay,
right, I'm ready.
I want to level up my security game.
Review the key takeaways, Think about those red flags.
Those red flags.
Those defense strategies we talked about.
Yeah.
And the importance of awareness.
Training
that security culture.
And don't forget about those resources.
Yes.
The BSI standard.
ICS Security Compendium.
And the IT Grinshitz Compendium.
All great resources full of information and guidance that can help you create a really strong security program.
Whether you're an individual,
Or part of a larger organization.
But security isn't a one-time fix.
It's not. It's a journey.
It's an ongoing process.
An ongoing process.
Because the threats are always evolving.
Always evolving, so we need to stay vigilant and informed.
Right.
And keep adapting.
It's like staying in shape.
It is.
You can't just go to the gym once and expect to be fit forever.
You got to make it part of your lifestyle.
Make it a habit.
Yes.
Security is the same way.
Exactly. Make it a part of your daily routine.
At work, at home, everywhere.
Everywhere. And never be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
Report suspicious activity or, seek guidance from IT professionals.
Right.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
And by working together and sharing our knowledge,
yeah,
we can create a safer and more secure world.
Absolutely. So keep learning.
Keep learning.
Keep asking questions.
Keep asking questions.
And keep those security muscles flexed.
Stay safe out there.
That's all for this deep dive.
It is.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.